in very, very relevant subject matter. I'm excited to move to our next panel, our last panel of the day. We have one more presentation after that, but our last panel of the day, which is all about practicing self-care and wellness. And this will be moderated by my friend Maureen Green James. Maureen is diversity business partner at a company you may have heard of called Meta, also previously known as Facebook. So I'm going to hand it over to you and welcome you to lead this panel. Thanks, everyone.
Romy, thank you so much. I hope everyone can hear me just fine. And good afternoon to all of you. And I am really excited to be here today and to be with this fabulous group of women. And we're going to talk all about practicing self-care and wellness. So let's just take a minute. Let's just step back a minute and think about all of the things we collectively have going on in our lives right now, right? So everything from extended family demands and friends and small children, teens, young adults, managing work-life balance or integration and whatever that looks like for you, right? Easing back into the office or working from home, managing critical project deadlines or challenging clients, taking care of the dog, cat, bunny, rabbit, snake that the kids convinced you they would take care of. You get the point. So what's missing on this list, or rather, who is missing? All of us. We are. You are. And so today we're going to talk about practicing self-care and wellness and how to really kind of escape almost from all of those things and really be able to do that practice for yourself. So I have the pleasure of engaging with these amazing three women who are no different than you and me, and together we'll hear from them sharing their practical tips on self-care and wellness and how it can integrate with work, and more importantly, how to eliminate any of the guilt that you might feel simply trying to take care of you. And I want to make sure we all do, that you leave this conversation feeling inspired and feeling like, you're being lifted up, and we're lifting all of ourselves up as we climb. So let's do quick introductions so we can get into the conversation and have some time for questions. So Shakitha, why don't we start with you?
Yes, hello there, and good afternoon to everyone. I am Shakitha Gibson. I am the Global Diversity and Inclusion Partner for ABB. I am a mother. I am a wife of, wow, well, four children. We share four children, ages 24, 22, 20, and 9, almost 9. And she lets you know she's almost 9. I've been in the HR arena for 20 plus years, but very new to the diversity and inclusion role. But super, super excited to be here and talk to everyone that's looking at watching about this particular topic, because it is a hard one sometimes when you're balancing all that we do as women. But super excited to share tips and hear from other women how you are managing it as well.
Shakitha, thank you. Tara?
Hello, I'm so excited to be here today. My name is Tara. I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist, and I work at Optum, a division of United Health Group, as the director of operations. My team handles behavioral health needs of members and providers in the evenings, overnights, and weekends. I live in Minnesota with my husband, my boys, 2 and 4 years old, and my husky. And as a therapist, I always advocate for self-care, so I'm really excited to talk to you all and find out what you all are doing as well.
Awesome. Tara, thank you. And then Letitia.
Hi, everyone. So I am Tish Moye Moore. I am the Senior Sourcing Manager of our Diversity Talent Acquisition organization at Citi. Very excited to be here. Very excited to converse with these ladies and share what we're doing on a day-to-day basis, and even more so, kind of invest in myself and take some nuggets back that I can employ moving forward. But even more than what I do at work, I am a mom. I have 3 little girls. They are 1, 2, and 3. And they are exactly like me, each of them, in their attitude. So I am busy at home. I am a juggler of all jugglers. I think I'm the master juggler of balls that get thrown in the air between them and my husband and everything else that I have going on. So very excited to be here again, and I look forward to the conversation.
Awesome. Teach, thank you. And so I think that you, but all of us collectively are juggling all of those things that I talked about earlier, right? So I'll just give a very quick introduction. So Romeo said, I diversity business partner, Meta, but the things that are really important to this conversation is like, just as these amazing women have all shared, I too also have two young adult children, a 23-year-old and a 27-year-old. And so I'm here to tell you, it doesn't matter what age they are, they will come at you and they will be part of the reason why you may not be practicing all of the self-care and wellness that you need. So just know that we are all in a safe place and the same place. So let's get into the conversation. So first question, we hear and we know for sure that self-care is important, but we also feel a sense of guilt trying to practice it for ourselves. So can each of you talk about how personally you maintain discipline of self-care? Like, how do you role model this?
Yeah, I mean, I can jump right in if you didn't have anybody in particular, but for me, it's been a struggle, truth be told, to kind of get to the point even where I am today, because I felt like, especially in the past few years, I've had to start over because I have a baby and then we go, and then I have my 2-year-old and we go, and as soon as you get settled, I'm like, oh, here we go again, right? So we're starting all back over in the balance. But for me, it's really about my accountability partner, who is my husband. And he is one of those people that he will kind of take a step back and say, you know what, I think you need a day, right? And his day is always, I'm going to take the girls to the bounce house, and you go and do whatever you do, right? And so it's really having a village of people for me that allows me to do that. I'm actually getting a lot better at being in the space where I can say and recognize in myself, hey, I need a break, or I need a moment, even if it is just to go up and take a 30-minute shower and just have those moments to myself to decompress. That for me is recharging. I am an extrovert at work. And so when I go home, a lot of times I want to think to myself, but don't have the opportunity. And so I focus on stealing away little moments of time, whether it be in the day, I don't care whether it's 10 minutes, or whether it's that my husband takes the girls and I have the house to myself. That's what I do.
Yeah,
That's
I
perfect.
agree. I do some of the same stuff. I think one thing I didn't get right in my past is not recognizing, like Tish said, some of those small moments count, right? They're resting currency that we build up. And so even if it's 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 30 minutes, it's making the decision to take a breath, and walk away, go make a cup of tea or go take a shower. Because even if it's 5 or 10 minutes, your body recognizes the reset, right? Um, Partying with my family is great. My husband actually during the pandemic took a job in a different city, and so for the last year we've been apart. And I remember he came home. Well, we have two homes now, but he came home and said, we got to do this, 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 and I just stopped and literally said to him, I need a break, because the reality is in most homes the woman is the centralized source of calm and peace and togetherness, and everyone is pulling from us, right? And so I've convinced him, in order for everyone else to be okay, I can't break, right? I have to keep it together. And so I think he finally said, whoa, wait a minute, go. Go do what you have to do, because I want everything to stay well, right? So it's a conscious decision. And I know we say that like it's easy, and it's not. It's a conscious decision to know that everything else will be okay if you take a moment to breathe. And honestly, I think collectively it all comes together so much more when we hold ourselves together and take that break.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
I completely agree. When I used to think about self-care and wellness, it'd be all about the physical aspects. I'm going to exercise, I'm going to eat great, I'm going to sit on the couch and binge a Netflix show, I'm going to drink a glass of wine to relax. But especially through the pandemic, I realized that I need to also focus on the mental aspects and calming my mind and working through stressful things. And so some of the ways I've engaged in that is during the pandemic, I got a therapist for a little while to help me work through some things because we were in an unprecedented time. Just because I'm a therapist doesn't mean I solve all my own problems, and having that sounding board to talk through things really helped. I also think about sometimes I take my dog for a walk and I don't listen to podcasts, I don't listen to music. I'm just enjoying the silence, the peace, being with my own thoughts, problem solving, kind of playing out situations and how I'm going to navigate different areas of my life. And I think, like you said, the calm, the peace, the quiet, sometimes we need that to reset and to de-stress.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. So thank you. Thank all of you for sharing those points. And I think all of you, in some way, shape, or form, tied back to this whole concept of something I think, Shakitha, you mentioned when we first connected around doing nothing.
Yes. Yes. It's those three things that I think about. It's making time for family and your husband and your kids and mother, sister, brother, everyone that pulls on you externally. It's making time for yourself. So that's your mental health. Like Tara said, that's your fitness if you exercise, and we all should. Making sure you pour back into yourself. But there's a third one that we ignore, and that's making time to do nothing. Like scheduling time to do nothing. Resting is productive. Like we have to drill that into ourselves that just vegging out and we veg out when we're young, right? When we were in college or, younger, we did it all the time. And somewhere along the way in life, we assume that we can't do that anymore, that we have to go, 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 go. But that is not how our bodies are made to succeed and be successful in life. So it's that third one of making time to do nothing that we have to consciously remind ourselves of.
Yep, absolutely. I definitely want to make sure we brought that back into the conversation. And we'll probably talk about it again, but I think it's so key. So, Tish, I want to ask you this question. You know, we hear a lot that people, women, as we all, really do feel guilty, right? When we want to take that time for self-care, when we want to just find a moment to do nothing. Do you ever feel that way? And, what advice do you have for others who do?
Absolutely. Am I on? Okay, I'm not on mute. Absolutely. I do feel that way at times. Um, and I will say, even before getting to kind of leading up to this point, I would, if my husband was giving me a day and he was taking the girls out, I would figure out where they were and I would go meet them just because then I felt like we were doing something as a family. So even though it was my self-care day, I would show up and be bouncing around and stuff. And I never really got to recharge myself. And it's not until, truth be told, and someone mentioned it, and I think it was Paula, I see it here. She made a comment that said, but we can and we do break, and that's okay too, right? It's also to do that. And it wasn't until a point where I was given those moments of self-care, and I wasn't necessarily coming back to actually do that and recharge myself that I broke. And it wasn't until kind of that coming back from process that I realized that, you know what, you have to take those moments for myself. And it was more so I was doing it and trying to do extra because I felt guilty because I was working full time and I have three very little babies that I was feeling like I was taking time away from. And I felt like I was focusing more on my career than I was on myself. So the time that I had off, I felt like I needed to spend every single moment focused on them and making sure they knew that I was present. But in reality, I really was forgetting about me and making sure that I was okay so that I can serve them because ultimately that is what brings me joy. So yes, I do feel guilty sometimes, but I am doing a lot better, Maureen. I will say I'm doing a lot better at suppressing that and taking those moments. And if I just sit and do nothing and watch Lifetime, I am good.
Like that. I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
Shakitha, Tara, anything else?
I try it. The mom guilt is so real. So
Right.
I don't, it happens. I have a 9-year-old who's our youngest, and kids have a way of like almost making you feel guilty sometimes, right? Like I could explain to my daughter, mommy's not going to make it this time, dad's going to go, or I'm not going to, come to this, or dad's going to help you with homework today. And the 9-year-old's like, well, what do you mean? I asked you, so, but I try to turn that into lessons, and staying strong for myself, but also lessons for her, to try to teach her, no, it's okay to take a break. You can't be there every single time. And so I use those self-help talks for myself to try to work my way out of the guilt. But if I'm being honest, it does happen. But I think at the end of the day, if we're not so focused on the exact moment and the overall well-being of ourselves, then we can get past that.
Absolutely agree.
Yeah, me and my husband on the weekends, we each give each other an hour. So I'm usually the first one up, and so I'll let him take his first hour to himself. He gets an hour undistracted, and then when he gets back out, he comes taps me and says, "It's your hour." So it's nice because it gives the children some time with just one parent to engage with. They don't miss it. They're okay. And so that's a really nice thing. Too, I'm lucky enough to have grandparents or the kids' grandparents in the area. So there's some times where I'll tap them and say, I think they need a sleepover. I need a date night, right? So,
Yes.
and
Yes.
And
neither
they love that.
grandparent.
It's okay.
Yeah,
Grandparents
they're not
love
missing
that.
anything. Why feel guilty? Because they're both loving the time they get together. So, I think some of that guilt is internalized that we manifest it when really they're doing just fine.
Yeah, that's very true. Okay,
Yeah, I used
awesome.
to have a hard time relying on my village to do that, and to kind of help me out. I
So
had a
you feel
very
that
hard,
guilt to rely on
oh
your
my
village.
goodness, I had such a hard
Mm.
time doing it. And now I'm like calling people. I'm like, so calling my brother, do you want to watch your nieces? Do you want some one-on-one uncle niece time for a little while? You
I
know?
feel like you need some time with your niece.
Yeah,
That's what it's like. I
yeah.
feel.
I feel like you need it. It's time for you to have.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, for sure.
Perfect. So let's switch gears a little bit and talk about like that, the pace of work, right? And how that really just is built into everything. So when you think about the pace of work, what is it? Just crazy. Some days we're just feeling like overwhelmed and really, really burnt out. But you don't necessarily want to say that out loud, right? Because, you believe it might hinder opportunities for promotion or the chance to take on a bigger project or a client. So, Tara, let's start with you. How do you recommend communicating with your manager when you're feeling really burned out or like you need to just step away from your desk, whether it's your actual physical desk in the office or your virtual desk, whatever that looks like, you need to step away and take a moment for yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. I recall when I first had my son, I was returning from maternity leave and I thought to myself, oh my goodness, my son's gonna be at daycare. I'm gonna be at work. I'm gonna miss all this quality time. I'm gonna spend every moment with him when I get off of work. And so I canceled my gym membership because the classes were in the evening and I'd missed so much time with them. After a couple of years, I was talking to my friend about how much I missed that. And she said to me, you can't pour from an empty cup, Tara. You always tell me that. So maybe you need to challenge yourself to talk to your boss, talk to your husband about a way that you could go back to those classes. And so the next day, I scheduled a meeting with my manager and said, hey, I really want to get back to this. I think it's really important for my own self care, my own physical health to get to these classes. Could we adjust my schedule? Here's how I'm going to manage our responsibilities to the team so that they're still feeling supported, but I can get away a little bit early to attend those classes and maybe only miss 30 minutes with my kiddo a couple days a week. And she was on board with it. I'd already solutioned for how I was going to make sure things are still being met and handled, but I get some time for me. And she was totally on board. Went to my husband, asked if he could do some daycare pickups. He was on board. So I think speaking your truth, telling people how you feel will help them know how to help you. They're not mind readers, right? If you don't tell them there's a problem, they're never going to get the support
I
you
won't
need.
know.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So I think bringing that up and having a specific idea, sometimes just telling somebody I'm burnt out, well, they're not going to know how to help you. So speaking that up and hopefully you have a good relationship with whoever your boss is so that you can have that conversation about how you're feeling without feeling like it's going to hurt your professional career.
Yeah, no, Tara, thanks for sharing that. And I think that one of the key things you said is solutioning, right? So actually coming with a solution, it doesn't have to be the solution, but what it does show is that you want to partner, you want to work together to fix this for you, and perhaps somebody else is watching you, and therefore you're fixing it for them. In a way, you're kind of paying it forward, right?
Yeah.
So that's perfect. Yeah. So Tish, what about you?
Yeah, so I know for me, I think I was sharing with you ladies before, but I am very intentional about making sure that I am vocal with what I need, right? Because this is for me, it is a work-life integration. I don't live to work, I work to live, right? So I'm a people leader as well in my role. And so even when I'm interviewing, I make sure that I weave that in. I want people to set boundaries for their lives, right? Because I always say, if you being out or you not responding to that email today is going to shut the company down, that they really didn't have a foundation to stand on in the first place, right? So I really try to, push that on my team, right, to make sure that they're investing in themselves. But in turn, I'm able to have some pretty transparent conversations with my leader. We had very transparent conversations in my interview coming on board. I'm new to the organization. I've only been here 6 months, but even in just this very quick time, I feel like I've created a really strong partnership with my leader, to where almost she knows when I need to take a break, right? And she knows when there's a hustle and bustle, it doesn't stop. And so if once you finish one thing, you're picking up another, and it's all about the communication. Tara mentioned it in her example and how she communicated with her leaders and how her husband communicated with her. And I think as long as we're honest with ourselves and really being honest, and do that gut check and have that conversation with your leaders, you're really setting yourself up for success overall.
Absolutely. The communication is completely key. Shakita, anything else to add?
Yeah, I think they nailed it. The only thing I would add is just in a really practical way. I think a really good way to introduce that conversation, because sometimes it is, I think Tara said this, it's really just about having the courage to have the conversation first. And usually people are okay with it. But one thing I advised one of my employees to do before with their particular manager is to start the conversation asking your manager, hey, how do you balance work life? How do you balance family and all that you do? And put it back on them to spit back to you kind of how they do it. And then you say, well, I'd love to be able to do XYZ as well. Can we work together to make sure that I can also, work that into my life? So opening the conversation where either that person will share with you their tips, or they will also realize they're not doing a great job at balancing work and life. And then you can partner together to do it as a team. And I would say to all the women or men who are listening, if you're leaders and you understand that practice, as Tish said, lead the way you want to be led, right? Make sure you are the one taking the time off, showing your team, what you would like to do. Don't take all the time off and then your team is slaving, at work all day and working all night, and you're off having a vacation. So we have to lead the way we want to be led as well.
So I love that, and I love that there's two things that I want to mention, because it ties actually into my next question. So you talked about or men, right? Or, it's important to really be thinking about the fact that everybody needs this, okay? Let's
Everybody.
not just think it's only everybody needs this in some way, shape, or form. And then the other thing you talked about was role modeling and making sure that when you're role modeling, you're actually having the question, you're throwing that question back on someone else to say, how are you doing it? Or are you doing it? And so I think it really creates opportunity for us to think about this as the next question is, we know that our theme today is lifting as we climb. So how do you think that women can really do a better job supporting each other to really find the self-care that they need? And, I'll just for myself, I always say to people, way before COVID, way before working from home was the cool avant-garde sexy thing to do. I don't care where you work from. You could work from the moon. As long as I know you are meeting your deliverables and your clients are happy and you are happy. But how do we continue to support people so they really do find that self-care and they put that wellness into practice for themselves?
I love this question. I think my team, we work in the after hours. So evenings, weekends, holidays, that's a lot of family time, right? That people are missing. So I make it a regular question in our one-on-ones to some degree to say, how are things going? Are you getting to see your family? Oh, you have this thing coming up. Flex your time. Like you said, you can make things work and adjust things so that we can accommodate you. One of my managers recently had a temporary flex schedule or split schedule. So she got some evenings with her kids and she said, oh my goodness, I just loved that, to be able to go to my kids' sporting events. And I said, let's figure out a way to make that happen for a permanent situation for you. And I think it really helped because it also creates retention, because if she couldn't have gotten that, she might have looked somewhere else outside the team, because we're in the Great Recession right now. And so I think it really is we're behooved to say, what can we do to make this a good work-life balance for you?
Perfect.
Yeah, I know for me as a leader, the one way that I support, I know I mentioned it in interviews that I will do it, but even on my team knows, and I will tell them we have Teams chat, but we have an hour. I call it a do you hour. So every day, most times we all work remotely and people are eating while they're in meetings or whatever, but everybody gets 1 hour where they can put themselves out of office. I don't care what hour a day it is, as long as you're not missing something critical. And I don't care if you lay on the couch, I don't care what you do, but take that hour to recharge. And so there were a lot of times for a long time where my team wouldn't take advantage of that. And so I got to a point, and goes back to the role modeling example, where we'll be wrapping up a meeting and I'll say, oh, by the way, I'm going to go put my shoes on. I'm taking a walk. I'm going to go do me. You go do you. Right? Or don't forget to do you, right? So we'll do that, and just kind of remind them in that way. Or, even outside of work, I have a very close-knit group of friends where all of our kids are the same age. And so sometimes it's, hey, I'll do a play date at my house. And it's, you can come if you want to, but it's also, if you want to drop your kids off at my house, we're going to be in the backyard on the swing set. Take that time to go get your nails done, or go pamper, or go do whatever it is that you haven't done. Just make sure you come back and get them.
I love that community. That is great, Tish.
Love it.
Yeah, I would just add, I mean, this is all really difficult, and again, I know we speak about it with smiles because we've been through the fire, right? All of us, and the people that are watching as well. But just make sure you're producing, right? At the end of the day, we all have a job to do. We're paid to do it at our particular corporations. Make sure you're producing, and I think it's really difficult for someone to deny you the time that you need, especially in this hybrid world that we're living in, when you're doing the work. If you're doing the work, if you're meeting your KPIs, if you're meeting your objectives, if you're still being innovative and creative in your workspace, and you're taking that time to get your nails done, at whatever time you want, and go to your son's or daughter's volleyball game or whatever it may be. We're not saying this to say there won't ever be a time where you'll work at night, or pull 2 nights
Of
in a
course.
row, or have 3 weeks where you've got to get a project done. Sometimes it's just hard. It just is. It's called life, right? So sometimes it is. But again, if you're producing, doing a great job for your manager, for your team, for your company, then again, I think it's a little bit easier for the managers that we are supporting to say, yes, take that flexible time. I know you're going to get the work done. You've not been late before. I know you're going to have that project in. And that really is helpful, and it puts some onus on us individually as women and producers in the workplace to remember that we still have goals and targets to meet. And again, we can get that time to ourselves when we make sure that we keep that at the forefront as well.
Absolutely agree. And I think, when you think about all of this last part of the conversation was really about making sure we're putting things out there, right? And we're being very intentional about how we do that. And so, Tara, you mentioned the Great Resignation, which is, the place that we have lived in for the past year and a half, 2 years, really. So in the future, what do we think about the workplace and what it's going to look like? And will there be a workplace that really allows us to support and really lift each other up as, working individuals, working moms, working dads, working parents, so that we can make the space to take care of ourselves, so we have that better balance at work while we continue to just be amazing employees? Like, do we think that is a workplace of the future? And how do we all collectively advocate towards that in our organizations?
Yeah, I think the work from home or the hybrid opportunities really give people an opportunity to find some more balance. So I do see that as a big incentive for employee retention or acquiring new talent. I think about the time I spent getting ready in the morning, driving to work, driving home. that amount of time, I can get a lot done at home, and that's really meaningful time that wasn't benefiting the company and wasn't helping me at home. So, kind of like Chiquita said, we need to make sure we're producing so that people have the trust and the faith in us. But I think that enables our companies to say, you're still being productive employees. We're still getting, our needs met. So let's help you get your needs met. And there's that great compromise.
Yeah, I think,
Exactly.
adding to, I think it's the workplace of now, right? I know a lot of
Yeah.
people say it's the future, but we think about what we went through, what we've all gone through in the past couple of years with the pandemic, and everybody was used to working in office, and all of a sudden it's shut down, go home, we'll figure out a way to make it happen, right? And so I think some of us are there a little bit faster than others. Some organizations are there a little bit faster. Some of us as employees are there a little bit faster. But I think as time moves on, I think we require it, right? Live shifts, families have shifted. The way what we value and kind of what we hold dear and how we prioritize has shifted. And so I think that place of work-life integration or balance or however you want to call it, I think it's today, right? I think we have to require it. We have to be able to produce and showcase why it's fruitful. But I do believe that it's today.
Totally
Agree.
agree. The
I
future is
completely
now,
agree.
right? Yeah,
Mhm.
that's what they say. Yep.
Absolutely.
All right, so I want to make sure that we have enough time for some questions, and I've seen a couple come through here, but this has been an amazing conversation, and I think just by the comments that have been going back and forth, people are engaging. So here's the first question. How do you deal with a work situation when you are the only working mom in the team and management does not understand your need for flexibility as it is not everyone's situation? So, Shravanti, thank you very much for sending that question in. Would anyone like to take that?
I don't know. I don't think I've had that particular circumstance to happen, but I would say we've talked about communication so much. I think it starts with communication. Some people just don't understand because it's not their life, it's not their day to day, and it's our responsibility, honestly, to explain to them what we need, to tell them what we require in order to be productive as a person and, personally and professionally. So I would say start with conversation. It's a part of our makeup and our unconscious bias, right? To have a thought already about a person based on their particular
Mhm.
situation. But again, that's somebody just focusing on that one thing when there's so many other things that we bring to the workplace or we bring to life. So my advice there would be to start with a conversation explaining kind of what your situation is and what you need to be productive in the workspace.
Yeah,
Tara?
I agree. And I think sometimes we always think, oh, we have to just go up. We just have to tell our boss what's going on. I think having conversations with your peers on your team so that they
Mm,
know where you're at, how you're working, and what your needs are, because you're building that relationship with them and building that trust that I think sometimes comes with needing to maybe run out and pick up a sick kid from school or something like that. You have to build that relationship up with your peers as much as your boss, because your boss might say, okay, I know you're working, but maybe your peers don't think you are, and that could create some tensions on the team. So
mhm.
I'd say either as a group or sometimes it's easier just one-on-one, because it's easier to relate to somebody kind of one-on-one, to say, hey, I just want you to let you know this is what's going on. Is there anything I can do to help you? Is there anything you want to know about me and my needs?
Yeah, I would absolutely agree with both of what the ladies said. When I think about it, I didn't relate to it, or I didn't understand it as much until I had children, right? I knew people needed to take time off for their kids, but I was very much career driven and career focused, and I would be there from sun up to sundown every single day, no questions asked, right? And it wasn't until I actually had my own child that I understood what it meant to need to go pick up a sick baby, or just needing to have that time to connect and be there and nurture and things like that. So as Shakita mentioned, I think it's all about the communication, and you
Mm,
have to also be okay with yourself and settle with the fact that there are going to be some people who, regardless of how well you explain it and how strong your relationship is with them or you think it is as colleagues, they're just not going to understand. And that's okay too. everybody doesn't have to be your best friend. This is our place of employment. It's not our playground. So they don't have to understand every single aspect of it. You just have to communicate, and they just really have to make sure that they respect it, period. That's the way
I
I
love that. Yeah,
Love
it's
it.
not your playground. I absolutely love that and think that's really good counsel because, sometimes you get too comfortable, right? And thinking that, it is your playground. And all of a sudden, when you tell someone your manager's situation or you ask for something, all of a sudden, the playground, everybody leaves the playground. Now it's just the two of you, right? And there's nobody that's got your back, so you got to, yes, Shelley, thank you. Play nice in the sandbox. So yeah, I love that. Thank you for adding that. Okay, so I know we only have a couple of minutes left, and I want to say a couple of things. One, I love the conversation that's happening in the chat, and people are just putting some amazing comments in here about everything that you all are sharing and that this collective conversation that we're having. So thank you all so much for engaging. With the few minutes that we have left, I wrote down a couple of things that I want to share as some takeaways that I'll share with everyone. But what is your one final piece of advice for everyone?
Really quick, I would say ignoring your body and pushing forward is not healthy, right? And eventually your body will reject that plan. Please remember that making time to rest is productive. It is productive.
Awesome, Shakita. Thank you.
I would say give yourself a little grace. You don't have to be everything to everyone. We don't always have to be Superman or Superwoman and put the cape on. Truth be told, to those that matter and those that are close to you, you already are everything and more that they wanted anyway. So just stand firm and confident in that.
Tisha, thank you.
I would say make a plan to project your need for self-care. Don't wait till you already need it. I used to be guilty of trying to save all my PTO for January through like May because of this crummy Minnesota weather. And I quickly discovered I was so burnt out by the time I got to May that I just probably wasn't functioning as high as I could be because I was so burnt out. So I've now taken a practice of I have to take at least one day off a month. I have a generous PTO policy, but I have to take some time every month just for me. And so that's really helped me maintain a good cadence of self-care.
Awesome. Thank you. And the one thing that I would add, I can't even say like it's, something that I came up with on my own. I stole it from a Peloton instructor. And she said, self-care is not selfish. And so that whenever you start to realize that you need that self-care and you start thinking, oh my gosh, how do I ask for this? Am I going to get it? If I don't get it, what am I going to do? Stop and Robin Arzon. Yes, Alexis, that's who said that. Yes, whenever you start having that speak in your head, just remember self-care is not selfish. Self-care is all about what you do for you, because to everyone's point here, but Tara, you articulated the actual words. You cannot pour from an empty cup. Yeah, so I would like to thank everyone for engaging in this conversation, including the people who are chiming in on the chat and all of the audience. But to Tara, to Tish, to Shakita, thank you all so much. This has been a phenomenal conversation. And like I always say, I learn something new every single time I engage in one of these conversations, whether I'm moderating or just sitting back and listening. So thank you so much.
Thanks, everybody. That was, I think, in so many ways, exactly what we needed to hear. It was really empowering, and we appreciate your perspective.